So I could see a line in the sky.
Yes,
right
two
up
of
here
them.
right
Yes.
now. So what do you think is going on up there right now?
They do tend to put them in front of the sun, which makes sense if they're trying to block sunlight.
What would you say is your strongest piece of evidence proving that chemtrails are real?
I think, I honestly, it might seem a little bit crazy that I literally have almost 400 videos.
1, 2, 3. X means death.
What do you think is going on up there?
Well, what they say is that this is sort of a desperate measure to counteract global warming.
Zadnik is quick to say he doesn't trust the government. Can you blame the guy? After all, our government doesn't really have the greatest track record when it comes to telling the truth. Agent Orange, the Tuskegee syphilis study, the human plutonium injection experiments. I can go on and on. That's the government. But what about science? Picture my mouth like a jet engine. I know that sounds weird, but as I exhale, my breath contains a lot of water, so we'll see something like a cloud. Sounds simple, right? Let's get scientific. Jet fuel is mostly kerosene, a hydrocarbon. When planes burn jet fuel, they produce exhaust. That exhaust is mostly hot water vapor. That also contains carbon dioxide, trace amounts of sulfur, nitrogen, microscopic metal particles, and carbon. The water vapor molecules latch onto the particles like carbon, allowing the water in its gas form to collect into floating bits of liquid, or, because it's so cold, tiny ice crystals. That's condensation, when water vapor becomes a liquid or ice. And so you get a cloud, especially when the humidity and air temperature are just right. The higher level of humidity in the sky, the longer the water remains condensed. When humidity is really high, the trails look like a long cloud, which is why contrails appear in the sky for a while. Winds can make them expand. What we see up there is not the government intentionally putting chemicals into the sky for geoengineering.
No.
Bill Gates thinks of himself as God, in control of the solar system. And that's why Bill Gates is now backing something called sun-dimming technology that would reflect sunlight out of the Earth's atmosphere, causing global cooling. Ooh, that's not fraught with risks. You thought gain-of-function research on pathogens was dangerous. Try that. But that doesn't stop Harvard University. Its scientists are testing that technology by spewing calcium carbonate dust into the atmosphere.
Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical climate change solution, creating a massive chemical cloud that could cool the Earth. It's called solar geoengineering, and it's highly controversial. It would look something like this. Thousands of planes would fly very high and use nozzles to inject millions of tons of light-reflecting particles into the stratosphere. It would create a thin chemical cloud of those particles around the whole planet, blocking some sunlight from reaching the surface. It would mimic a giant volcanic eruption, which we know cools the Earth.
Now, just to restate, Bill Gates is not God. Bill Gates is some kind of weird, socially awkward rich guy who lives in Seattle. He doesn't own the planet, but he's now changing the planet single-handedly. This is not just over his yard in Seattle. This is over your yard and our oceans and the whole planet.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rucha HaKodash, and double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you, brethren, you fellow followers and believers of this faith, and shalom to the elect. So in the wake of everything going on with the wildfires and the cloudy skies and the haze and the carcinogens in the air, which they say can cause cancer, right? Lung cancer and various other things that we breathe through automobiles and plants and chemical plants and food, and the list goes on. Okay, but I was just going back in this video and I saw this clip about through science, and I'll try to say this in a way that the video stays up. They're going into what they call the condensation trails and what is a chemical trail, right? So when I was younger, I've seen condensation trails in airplanes and mainly airplanes and jets. Now the condensation trail, to give an example of a condensation trail, like when you start your car up in the morning and it's a cold morning, you got moist cold crystals in the air, right? When the heat mixes with the moisture, you'll get that visual smoke, but then you'll see the smoke dissipate almost very quickly, right? Now, if you have a chemical reaction, say as a blown head gasket or blown worn valves or piston ring in the engine, and the oil blows by and it comes out through the exhaust, then you still have a chemical reaction because that's now oil. So you'll see the chemical reaction in oil is different than chemical reaction in antifreeze. So you'll see bluish smoke when you're dealing with oil or gasoline, and with antifreeze or a bad mixture, you'll see white smoke. So this is why when you start your car up in the morning and it's cold, it'll blow out and it'll dissipate real quick. It'll go out maybe a foot if it's cold, and it'll evaporate quickly. That's called a condensation. A chemical trail is when the smoke blows out at any time of the day, whether it's in the morning, afternoon, or evening, and it trails, and when you're riding down the street, you'll see a long trail of smoke, and it doesn't evaporate. I mean, it does eventually. That's called a chemical reaction. So I'm listening to this guy who said with the jet fuel and it mixes with the water and it crystallizes, yes, that's going to happen. But how long does it stay there? And how long does it take to go away? In fact, you used to see like those carnivals, they'll fly the plane and they'll draw somebody, make somebody's name in the sky. That's a chemical reaction. And they said it's science. But yet, Bill Gates says he wants to block out the sun to cool the earth. After all that happened to the earth, all this time, all these years with the chemical plants and everything else and the pollution and so forth and so on, now this is his solution. I just wanted to touch on that because there was no way I wasn't going to do a video on that, especially in this field that I'm in and know about some of this stuff. No, I'm not a scientist. The stuff he's saying is correct, but there's a difference between condensation and chemical. All right? A chemical reaction and a condensation, okay? So let's go to 2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan should get advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, and it will say designs. Now, when you see the so-called brush fires, they would normally dissipate, but it can get cloudy. You can have carcinogens thrown in the air because of what else is burning, if this is the case. I'm just saying. Cars, chemicals, gasoline, you can take natural substances and, mutate it, and it can become a dangerous chemical. Just saying. But this is what they're saying. And brother just texted me, he was just saying that he didn't see many videos on this fire. I'm just saying, what's up with that? Let's read this little article here. This is crazy as well. It's short, so bear with me for a second. It's really short. This is called Science Explores Air Pollution Can Mess with Our DNA. Y'all in the know what I'm getting at. It says here, a gene is a segment of DNA that tells the cell's body what to do and when. Genes can be controlled by a type of chemical switch known as methyl, a group carbon atom attached to 3 hydrogen atoms. Methyl groups cause a chemical reaction called methylation, affecting composition of DNA. This tends to happen near a gene added methyl groups usually turn some gene off. The opposite tends to occur when you take a methyl group away, demethylate a gene, either change or can after the health. And that can be a good thing. The body naturally produces methyl groups. This allows it to turn off genes and their actions is no longer needed. I'm not going to go any. It says, but factors outside the body, such as air pollutions, may improperly step in and add methyl groups to DNA, meaning change your DNA. So they're saying pollution can change your DNA. Now, all these things that was happening in the last few years when it was coming out about DNA, and everybody knows what we're talking about, for some reason the scientists say, nope, nothing like that changes your DNA, which DNA is, I believe, deoxyribonucleic acid, the compound makeup of your body, right? And my personal belief is DNA is always compromised, no matter what it's through. And I can't say it in the video, but, you have a lot of situations. So anyway, let's look up this word designs. This word designs means a mental perception or thought of an evil purpose, that which thinks the mind thoughts of proposes. Okay? A mental perception or thought. Implication, the intellect disposition of itself, a device, a mind, a thought. Well, we kind of get witchcraft, a craft, It's what it is. It says 2 Thessalonians 2:3. It says, let no one in any way, I'm reading the New American Standard Bible, let no one in any way deceive you, for it will not come unless the apostasy comes first, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction. That was the first version I went to, believe it or not. Of lawlessness, the son of destruction, which we see in the regular translation as the son of perdition, which means utter destruction. Now, Job 9:24 says what it says, but to literally to block out the sun, to cool the earth, that's something, because the sun gives you your vitamin D, your vitamins. It's healthy for the earth. It's healthy for the plants. It's healthy for the water. And you want to cut that away. There's a lot I want to say, but I can't say. You go and get treated and you get something and then something else occurs. This is what William Billy Gates is trying to do. He's trying to literally block out the sun. So that brings me to the video in full of why are we in this situation now? What's going on? I know, is it the wildfires? They always talk about the theorists and conspiracy theorists. Well, we see that through a lot of conspiracies, that we've seen things come out of these conspiracies. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But what's up with all this, man? I've never seen anything like that or anything like this. I've never seen, as a young man, and I used to look up at the sky all the time, I've never seen planes fly by and the trail of smoke just continues to stay there and it dissipates. I mean, a lot of people don't look up enough to see. They got their head in their cell phone. Anyway, I just want to touch on it because it was, very interesting. This is a very interesting thing that's been happening. And the elect will be protected. I wonder what's going to transpire out of it. What's in that air and that smoke? Right? Again, a lot I can't say. Anyway, I hope this lesson was edifying. That's all I have on that. Shalom.